So page 5 is 2 flaps. One is 6.5 by 5 1/4, and it's 6.5 by 5 1/4. You're going to score a 1/2 inch on the 6.5 inch side. And this is going to be the upper flap, and then this is going to be the lower flap. And I'm going to center the top flap and then just center the bottom one as well, so it looks like there's a little frame around it. And you guys have seen this design in actually several of my books. Nothing fancy in the flap department here. Very basic. The paper is going to do all the work here. And again, I was just using my grid to help me center this piece of paper here. And that looks pretty good. Yeah. Yep. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the bottom one. There we go. So I can't remember. The lower flap is 6.5 by 5 1/4. Oh, something's not right. Sorry. I'm gonna have to think about this. One of these doesn't work. This is 4 1/4 by 6.5. Oh yeah, that's right. So that's not 5 1/4. That's the problem. Okay. So this is actually not 5 1/4. It's 4 1/4. Let me double check. Yeah. So this is 5 1/4 by 6.5, and this is 4 1/4 by 6.5. And on both of those, you're going to score 1/2 inch on the long side. So again, this flap is 1 inch narrower than this flap. There we go. Sorry about that. That was a little confusing for me too. I wrote it down wrong. Okay. And we're going to use magnets to hold this closed as well. Okay, that's page 5. So here we go with page 5. So page 5 is a lower and an upper. And this is what I have designed initially. So we'll see if I stick with it. So I think that's not the right side. This was the right, yeah. So I'm going to pull page 4 back in. So these are going to be side by side. So I always like to try to make my final design decisions with the opposing page being considered. So that's one option. So the other option is, you know, to do it this way. And put my writing pen here. And I really like this, but I don't like the way it cuts her head off. So I am definitely not going to use this here or at least not in that order. The alternative is to lay it down first, like so. And then if I do that, it won't straighten out, sorry about that. You only see the tips of her fingers, and I don't care for that either. So now that I've seen that, I know for sure I don't want this on the cover, so I'm gonna go ahead and plan for it to be here. Okay, so I'm gonna dry fit it and go ahead and get it down so it's not floating around and I've got less papers to look at while I'm making the last of my decisions. So if you're going to do this, make sure you fold the flap down and you've got this in the right orientation. It's pretty easy to put it in upside down. Okay, so that is in. And then the other thing I know I want is, I know I want this on the outside. It's such a pretty image. I really want to make sure I'm showcasing it. Let's dry fit real quick. Okay, everything looks good. And then just to make it easy for me to see all the edges, I'm going to open it up and lay it flat like this. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so there we go. So that's in. Okay, so now we have to figure out what we're doing on the flip side. This one's really pretty, I like it. So it's gonna, I think I like this the best. So that'll go here, and then this is my last piece to place. So do we want the scroll? And I think I do. I think I want the handwriting down here, so let's do that. Let's just check on the fit one more time. And the orientation of the handwriting. Okay, that looks good. Okay, and this is our last piece to put down on page 5. So now that I've put that down, I just realized that originally I had designed it, and you will know this because you put the magnets in. I designed it to close this way so you can hear the magnet, and then when I flip it the other way, it doesn't really have enough attraction. So, I mean, it's going to hold, but not as tight as it did when it's flipped the other way. So you may want to alternatively place your magnet at the bottom of this flap and on the opposing side here, down here, as opposed to what I had done. I put it up here and the mate is right there. So if you originally I designed it to close this way, and that was before I picked this image. And then once I picked this image, I decided I didn't want to trim it down to be so narrow that I lost part of sort of this whole image with her typewriter and her desktop. So you may want to consider that. Either go, have it close in the original design, or place your magnet on the back side of this toward her boot if you're using this image down here, and then the mate would be on top here. So it still works, but it's not very strong. So just so you know, if I had it to do again, that magnet would have been placed here. So this is page 5, so we're done with that. Page 6. Page 6. Okay, page 6 is a left and right flap that are going to open out. And I'm just checking, there's my spine. So this is going to go, each one's going to go on the opposing edge. Seven. So it's 7 inches by 4. So 4 by 7. So you're going to score a 1/2 inch on the 4-inch side. It's actually a little too long, so I'll trim it down just a bit. Okay, now it should fit. Okay, so just two panels left and right. And that is page, I covered it up, but that is page 6. Now we're on to page 6. So last night when I was trimming out the paper for page 6, I realized that we didn't put magnets down for page 6 at all. So we need to do that to start with, or you'll need to come up with an alternative means to keep these 2 flaps closed. There's a couple of different options you can do, but I think I'm going to go with magnets. So you'll need 2 sets. Yeah, I'm starting to think I didn't have my tape in here, but I do. I'm going to go ahead and turn on some artificial light because the sun is going down on me. It's getting harder to see. But for most of this, since it's not just black on black, it shouldn't be too hard for you guys to follow. Although I have to say, I know that the quality of the video goes down when I'm not using natural light. So, but I'm very anxious to get this out because tomorrow, Monday, and of course not all you going to watch this at the same time, but tomorrow I'm supposed to be getting the new collection from Graphic 45, which is the fashion forward, and I need to get started on making something for that. So I need to get this off my plate so I can start on the next one, which is, like I said, fashion forward. Okay. All right, so there we go. There's my 2 or 4 magnets, 2 sets, 4 magnets, and this is page 6. So we have this simple, that's upside down, sorry, this simple image, and then I just love this one, and I've used it already once in the book, but I just think this pattern is gorgeous. It's going to go on the outside like so. So I am going to go ahead and place these first. And you know what? I'm going to get a contrast sheet because I do need to see the edge. There we go. Much better, don't you think? Okay, so let me check my orientation, make sure I'm putting these in right side up. And I am. Okay. And is this the and it's a continuing pattern. So that's the other thing I'm looking for is, does my pattern continue side to side? That doesn't look quite right, does it? That's not quite right. It's pretty close though. Yeah, so that's how it's going to go in. All right. I just noticed too that I didn't trim out paper for the flip side of this, so we'll have to do that together. Okay, so there is the cover for page 6. This is going to go right inside. And it looks like it's trimmed out right. Just need to get some glue on it and get this tape up. Okay, so that is in. So like I mentioned before, I didn't cut out or trim out these two panels. So I am going to pick something out right now and we're going to get something trimmed out. So let's see. I really like that. These just look a little too pink to me. This might work. Too pink. And then it has to be. So these are long enough. Sorry, just trying to find my best options. Too short. Wrong orientation. Wrong orientation. Okay. These are too short to use. All right. A lot of shuffling, I know. Kind of like that, but I don't think I have another piece of it. I think that'll work. So that's what we're going to do. Actually, it goes this way. So I was thinking about color blocking, but because of my magnet placement, I can't do that. If I tried to block it in half, I'd expose my magnet. So I really do need to find something that'll cover both panels. And I have this. So this is my last 12 by 12 sheet. Everything else I've cut into. And I think this is what I'll do. Okay, so let's measure that out really quick. So it's just under 3.5 inches. So we're going to start with 3.5 and trim it to fit. Okay. Well, what I mean by trim to fit is I'm going to lay it in and I'm going to mark it and I'm going to trim it right at the mark. So I have to make sure I'm out of the hinge. Okay, that's one. Let me get the other one ready. Okay, that looks good. Let's get some ink on it and get it laid down. Okay, so if you guys are watching this, if you haven't subscribed, take a moment to subscribe. I also want to let you know, if you click the show more in the description, it will first come up with a material list, which is all the components that it takes to make this album, less the actual black cardstock. But you will need, I always start with a pack of 50 black cardstock. I never use the entire pack. My best estimate is probably about 35 sheets of 8.5 by 11 black cardstock, 2 sheets of 12 by 12 for the outside cover. And that should be you should be able to make the base album and all the flaps and the inserts with about 35 sheets of that paper. One of these days I'll open a 50 pack and build one and then see what's left over. But somehow I always lose track. But it'll include all the Ciao Bella pieces, the magnets, and then anything else I add to the album to embellish it. So I may add some flowers to the cover, and so there'll be links to all those products in our shop. And then just below the material list, you will find the cut list if you want to have that, as well as, you know, I run the banners as well. But some people like to have both. There we go, that's in. Okay, we're getting close, a couple more pages. And then we'll work on the cover and the inside. Okay, page 6.